All right. Hello and welcome to the 2026 Beachbound Book Bash. I am your host, Jay Gordon Curtis. You can call me James. I'm excited to be here for another section of the Beachbound Book Bash. We've got 11 phenomenal authors that are lined up with interesting discussions, activities, tips, tricks, and more to highlight the work that they do and the joy of reading in general. As a reminder, you can enter our giveaway at the Books That Make You website. We will announce winners at the end of this event when we send out our virtual beach book bag, which includes a lot of digital goodies and offerings from several of the featured authors, as well as an invitation to get advanced reading copies through NetGalley, courtesy of Black Chateau. So make sure that you're involved in that. To receive the virtual beach book bag, you have to be subscribed to the Webby Award-winning Black Chateau newsletter, or you have to enter the Beachbound Book Bash giveaway. So don't miss out on that. Make sure that you get your name in the mix before we are done here. That said, we got 11 authors. I don't want to take up too much time. I think we should just go ahead and get rolling with it. Our first author that is going to be joining us is Carrie West. Hey, Carrie.
Hi.
Carrie Casey West is the best-selling and award-winning author of Life Rewritten, and she's here today to flip the script on how you see personal narrative through the key storytelling element of perspective. So tell me about that perspective and the importance that that holds, Carrie.
Well, first of all, the concept of stories is a long held tradition among people. And
Mm,
if you think about it, we carry a lot of different stories about who we are. You have your work story, your friend's story, your mother's story, your daughter's story or son's story. And all these stories align with a different way we see ourselves. The way we see ourselves and the person telling the story is one of the key story elements in storytelling. When I worked in the entertainment industry, the first thing you'd ask about a script is who's telling the story.
mm,
That perspective shifts everything
yeah,
because you would see the same story. May I give you an example of that?
absolutely.
So, two people are standing on a street corner waiting for the light to change. This car comes racing down, running red lights, causing havoc. The one person goes, "What an idiot! He's going to kill somebody." The other person goes, "Oh my, I hope everything's okay with them. They must have had a great emergency to make him drive like that."
Mm,
Same exact event, two different perspectives. So it really is important to understand the perspective of the story you're telling and what filters are coloring that perspective.
yeah. Can you think of any times where you've kind of had to write from a perspective that was more difficult for you to understand or kind of wrap your mind around a way that somebody else would think through things?
Well, I think that's what life is, isn't it?
Mm, yeah.
And in my book Life Rewritten, that's what I talked about was understanding the other people in my life. So I had a rough childhood and I thought
Mm,
my parents just hated me, that there was something completely wrong with me, that they didn't take care of me the way you would think a parent would. And as I grew older and I started exploring their stories, I came to realize that my mom had mental problems. And my
mm,
mom had her own story that was loaded with pain and suffering and shame. It didn't make it any better, but I understood. I understood where she was coming from. That I wasn't the evil being that was so horrible that she hated me. In fact, she loved me very much, and that added to her confusion with all of her mental issues and everything. But when I understood her perspective, you feel compassion. And
mhm.
that also I felt compassion, but that also made me want to understand more perspectives. And when I would write my fiction stories, I wanted to really be clear on the perspective of the protagonist, the antagonist, the mentor, the sage, the love interest, all the other characters in the story. What were they hoping to get at the end of the story? So that helps you drive the story arc further of all the characters.
Yeah. How do you kind of develop that into something that's three-dimensional when working with fiction? Like, I feel like it's easy to kind of come up with a pretty flat reasoning for a character a lot of times. So what's the extra work that goes into fleshing that out into a full-bodied kind of thing?
I think that's the challenge, what you just mentioned, James, that every author sits with. And I think that's the challenge. I've analyzed thousands of stories for when I was in the entertainment industry and reading scripts. And you have to understand that some people do come off as two-dimensional. Now, it might be a character that's the tertiary character and that you don't need them to be anything more. It's just going to deliver a line that's going to shift something in the overall story. But in your main characters, it's important to understand their backstory, especially the main protagonist and the main antagonist. So what is their backstory? What made them the person they are today that we are watching? Because remember, we are stepping into a story that's sliced and diced, right?
Hmm.
We didn't see them from the day they were born and learn how they grew into the person that we're seeing now. So you need to fill that in.
Hmm.
And I think it's a lot of fun. I think when you can create the style of clothes they wear, the words they use, this all helps you develop to understand the three dimensionality of the characters. Where are they from? Where did they go to school? What did they do in school? Did they have friends? Were they a loner? And you start building this real being that comes alive. And so when you start writing from this real being, it shifts everything. Same with the antagonist. What's their backstory? Why are they an antagonist to this protagonist at this particular point in time? And how will this help the protagonist along on the journey? Because remember, it's these crisis moments that teach the protagonist so they are ready for the final outcome of the story. Makes
Yeah.
sense, doesn't it?
Yeah. So, okay, so taking that from fiction and kind of moving it over into your personal narrative, how does developing that skill set translate into personal narrative and how we view kind of the life around us?
So many times in our personal narratives, they're loaded with why not?
Mm,
I didn't do that because I'm going to go extreme here. I didn't do that because my parents didn't send me to the right school.
mhm.
Really? We hold on to these narratives as a reason to justify where we are in life.
Yeah.
And I decided for me personally, I decided I had to make a choice. Did I want to hold on to that narrative of my parents didn't want me, they didn't like me? How am I going to go forward? Well, I might as well just sit around and wait for death. Or do you want to take control of your life? Because here's the important thing. We are the author of our own lives.
Mhm.
We are telling our own stories. So do you want to tell a story that has this brilliant ending of success and dreams come true? Or do you want to have a story that says I wasn't treated the way I should have been treated as a child, so I'm going to let the rest of my life go? I
Yeah.
know that's very simplistic division of it, and life isn't simple. Life is complex, but to take start taking it apart from that perspective because you can change it. You can rewrite it. You can have a different story than the one you started out with.
Mhm.
I did it myself and I've taken a lot of people on that journey and it's amazing to see how empowered you feel, how hopeful you feel when your life is working, when you're telling a story that you know has a happy ending.
Mm. I love that. Yeah. No, I think like I had a similar kind of revelation where I think the kind of final thought that came to me from it was like it's every parent's job to be a little bit better than their parents were and to want their kids to be a little bit better than that. And I feel like once I started kind of thinking through that lens, I was like, my dad, he did all right. He did pretty good. And like my mom she did pretty good considering where she came from. And
Hmm.
it I like that idea of kind of removing yourself from like they're not exactly what I wanted, but what have they done to like try to get there? And then also like what can I do outside of that? Like it doesn't have to be all on them, right? Like I'm in control of my life, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
let me take control of it.
I
uh,
realized I was still holding on to my anger, and my parents had already died.
mm,
So
yeah, yeah,
it wasn't hurting them if I was angry. It was just keeping me in, as an angry person. So
absolutely. Yeah. No, I really appreciate that. Thank you. That's a powerful message. So we're coming to the end of our time here, but what's a final kind of thought that you want to make sure to leave with our audience?
I think everybody, if they can accept that they are in charge, that they can. And I know for anybody listening to this, I didn't believe that for the longest time, but it's really true. Nobody is holding you back except yourself. You can write the story of your life and it can be brilliant.
I love that. Carrie, thank you so much. Thanks for coming on today and for sharing that with our audience.
Thank you. And thanks everybody at the Beach Book Bash Bound. Big Beach Bound Book Bash.
There we go. Yeah, I know it can kind of jumble up sometimes. All right. Thank you, Carrie. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Oh, that was amazing. You are in control of your own destiny. I feel like I am going to start a to-do list of all the things I'm going to accomplish after this to feel proud of myself. All right, let's move on. Let's keep going. We've got up next Debbie Bishop. Debbie, hey, Debbie, welcome.
Hi. Hi.
Debbie is returning. Debbie has been with us before. She's the award-winning author of the Pillywiggen duology and is here to share a short reading and discuss the lives of her characters and the lessons viewers can learn from them. How are you doing, Debbie?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing great. Welcome back.
Thank you. Well, yeah,
Uh,
destiny is a common theme here because this book is all about resilience and
mm,
heart and loyalty and bonding, and that we really truly don't know what we're capable of until we have no other choice.
I love that. Yeah. You have a short reading that you want to share with us?
Well, I was just going to tell basically in my words what the story's about.
Yeah.
It opens with the main character, Peter. Uh, he's been betrayed and he was never supposed to find out what he is. And he's betrayed and he finds out that he's hunted and he has to make a choice to leave luxury that he's been living in. He's a light fae that's been hiding in the human world. And he was told to be in disguise about it, not ever tell anyone what he is. And he leaves on his own with just his backpack to go out and find out why he's being hunted. And then flashback 18 years before, in the epic battle of good versus evil, evil won, and his mother had to give him up to save him. And she thought that nobody knew that there was a second, but she was wrong. And in the middle of this epic battle with dragons and light fae flashing overhead with a thunderstorm, an indigenous boy, 5 years old, finds a girl in a ditch in the middle of this battle, and he wraps her up in his arms and he carries her into his lair. He was the only boy that wasn't caught. All the other boys in the realm were captured by the mercenaries, and he's the only one that escaped. And he told himself right then that he was going to protect her for life. And so now, flashback to present day, the boys have grown up in these horrible mines. They're all light fae, but they can't use their wings because it's too hot. So they have to make contraptions and things to fly around. Anyway, they find out that they're going to be dragon food, and so they have to escape. But they've tried before and they failed. The girl that this boy found is actually in the prophecy. She's the one that's supposed to save them, but she doesn't even know they exist. So all the forces come together. So it's really about resilience and coming into your own and bravery and being brave even when you're afraid, and coming together.
Yeah, some notes of self-acceptance maybe I see in there, right?
Yeah, right.
No, that sounds really interesting. How so this is a duology, right?
Right. So we have book one that deals more with the in the cave. They call themselves the Lost Shadow Boys. These boys that grew up this way, and it tells about their experience in the cave, and also the girl and how she is a misfit from the wrong side of the pond, raised by Tashahunka, and then she's forced to go to this prissy academy in the perfect place called Penstemon, where all the fairies they wear designer attire, and they're all perfect. And immediately they don't like her because she doesn't care about them, and they bully her, but she ignores them, and so it's already you got that mean girl thing happening. So that's a fun dichotomy. So when you have the fun, light-hearted fairyland, and then you've got the contrast of these horrible minds, and you've got all this great mystical stuff happening, but also a lot of science, because the Tashahunka, the main warrior, he uses science instead of magic, and so magic can't affect him. So there's a lot of technology and AI and earbuds and things like that in here, like all the things that we're dealing with now. I wrote into this story years ago. I didn't realize, but it's all it's fantasy, but it's also science and tech.
That's really interesting. A blending of that. I'm sure that was challenging to kind of get to blend together well. Do you feel like it was a big undertaking, or did you feel like it kind of came natural to you with it?
It was natural. I've been writing about AI and computers and technology for 30 years in my science fiction, my sci-fi book, but it was natural. And in fact, one of the characters is AI, and it to me, because I've been writing about it so long, the thing with AI is that one of these days they're going to put AI in bodies, and how do we treat those people? Are they people? Who owns them, or do they have autonomy? That all of that is something that I've always discussed in these stories. But really, it pertains to what we're going on now in society with our hierarchy that has created all these stereotypes, and in order to keep us divided, because that way they can create more chaos and they can control things. And so as the story continues and they become a stronger and stronger, and they go deeper into the story, they realize that they really are fighting to free everybody from the hierarchy control.
Mm-hmm. I love that. So what would you say is, I'm sure there are, several kind of messages that you want to make sure your book leaves with readers, but what would you say are some of the kind of main lessons that you want to make sure that your readers are gleaning from the work?
Well, we have one quote in it that's: the most feared person in a divided and chaotic world is someone who can unite. And the dichotomy is, I've always been against stereotypes, and I purposely wrote this to go against stereotypes. And so the characters are different from what they would have been like. And the first book was written 25 years ago, when there were even worse stereotypes than there are now. And the second book was just written recently, but they go together so well. I was surprised that they go together so well. But dark and light, black and white, it doesn't mean anything. Your actions are what define you.
I love that. So, sorry, you said that was there a big gap between when you wrote them, or has it just been a while since you? Okay, so how big of a gap was there between book 1 and book 2?
Like 20 years.
Wow. Okay, so I feel like we buried the lead a little bit on that, because that's really wild. Okay, so what was it like going back to something from 20 years ago and adding on to it? Was that rewarding? Did you find it frustrating, kind of reading through your work from back then, or no? It was just
no. I didn't read
play in that world again.
Yeah, I didn't read at all about it. I had I always knew that I had an outline when I first wrote it. I had an outline of what the next book was going to be, because in this new story arc. But I was inspired, and all of a sudden the character Peter just started writing himself, and a week later I had the book done.
All right. A week later. That is impressive. That is impressive.
It's almost like it was channeled. I mean, there were definitely the parts that I had to figure out, especially the cinematic fight scenes. There's a lot of fight scenes, and I use military strategy, because I think that is a way that the boys bonded together and they could survive, because with military training you get organization and all the things you have to think about, and the physical training. So it's not it's not to perpetuate violence. It's just they're very strong people, and their kids, they're not perfect, and they are amazing.
Yeah. No, I love that. That's really impressive to kind of go back and kind of complete something from that long ago. Do you think there might be a trilogy, or do you think it's a two book and that's it?
Well, this is a complete story arc. So if you binge read it, you're going to be satisfied. But yeah, there can be other adventures for sure. The characters, I love writing characters that are interesting and they're complex, and the stories are complex, and there's a multitude of characters in this. It's not just, the core people. So it makes it more interesting. And because of that, there can be more stories. I already have some ideas in my head. And the thing that I was surprised about is that in the first book, I had some characters that I introduced, but then they went off on a mission and we didn't hear from them. And in the second book, they came back. So it's like I intuitively did it, or I don't know how it worked. It worked out really well. So all the characters get their complete story arc. It's really nice.
I love that.
It was a surprise.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, we're kind of wrapping up right now, but is there one last message that you want to make sure to leave with our readers?
Just these days, with everything that's going on in the world, it's just important to center yourself and focus on you and strengthening you, because the way that you can help the world is by helping yourself and becoming the strong person you are in your core.
Awesome. Thank you for that. I appreciate you coming on and sharing that message with our audience.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good one, Debbie.
You too.
All right. Thanks so much for that, Debbie. We are going to keep rocking and rolling, but I do want to make sure to remind everyone that you can enter the giveaway still on the Books That Make You website. They will be announced at the end of this event when we send out our virtual beach book bag. And as a reminder, you can only get that book bag if you either enter the giveaway or sign up to the Webby Award-winning Black Chateau newsletter. So make sure that you don't miss out on that and grab yours now. Up next, we are going to move on to Rebecca Hendricks. Rebecca, let me get you on the stage. Rebecca is the award-winning author of the Hound Dog series and is here to invite viewers to strap on their roller skates when she appears as the spotlight-loving Miss Edna to share summer road trip tips. Hey there, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have introduced you as Rebecca because you're Miss Edna today, correct?
That's right. How are you, James?
I'm doing well. How about yourself, Miss Edna?
Good. It's been so long since I saw you. It was around Christmas time.
I think
now
so, yeah.
here it is. And now here it is summertime.
Yes, I believe you gave us holiday tips last time. So
I did.
You're here to give us some tips on how to enjoy our summers better, or?
Yes, I was going to give you some tips from back when I was doing a lot of road trips, and that was a long time ago, James. I'm just letting you know ahead of time that
Am I allowed to ask how long ago? Can I ask how long?
A lady never divulges her age, James.
Absolutely.
So first of all, I thought I would start out with a comparison, okay? Now, everybody's used to these, right? And I think that a lot of people have gotten spoiled by these because you know what, James? You can look up on here a GPS thing that tells you right where to go.
Yeah.
Well, now back in the day, that wasn't the case, James. You had to start
atlas.
You had to start out with one of these, and this is a pencil, okay? And then you had to get a piece of paper and write down stuff because yes, James, you are 100%. You are going to need one of these. It's an atlas. Now, look at how big this atlas is and all the great big maps that are in here. So you're going to need to mark down your route ahead of time in one of these. And of course, back with then, they didn't have these little highlighter things. Those were gone. So you would have to use like this map here. And, it wasn't easy to get this map, get it unfolded, and then you had to be really careful that it wasn't upside down and you were totally going the wrong direction. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Mhm. Yeah.
Now, one of my favorite places to go when I was young was to go down Route 66, get your kicks on Route 66. And you would go down there and you would see all kinds of cool things. You know what I'm saying, James? You would see the lights and the neon lights and all the roadside attractions. And you know what? Some of them are still there. Not all of them, but some of them are still there. And this year, the Mother Road will be 100 years old.
No way. I didn't realize that. Route 66 is turning 100?
Yes, they are.
Oh,
And
wow.
they're having all kinds of celebrations and parades. Now, personally, I wouldn't want to be there during the 4th of July with the 250-year celebration of America and the 100th anniversary of the Mother Road.
That feels like a lot. Yeah, there's a lot going on.
I'm telling you, that would be too much. You know
Okay.
what I'm saying, James? And do you know why Route 66 is called the Mother Road?
Why?
It was given that name by Mr. Steinbeck when he wrote Grapes of Wrath, because those people were traveling during the Dust Bowl years, and they really needed a route to get to California, which was their dream place. Going when you figure you're living in a Dust Bowl, you know what I mean? And that is not an exaggeration, James.
Yeah.
There was dust everywhere. Oh my goodness. Can you imagine? You can't even dust it away. You had to sweep it out and then it would come right back in.
So, okay. So I'm gathering that another one of the tips might be don't go during busy times.
Very good, James.
Yeah.
Unless you just happen to like that thing. Do you like that? Do you like that sort of thing there, Mr. James?
I don't like when there's a lot of people there. I like to be the only one. I go in the least impressive moments to make sure that I have as little of a crowd around me as possible.
So I'm taking it that you don't go to Disneyland, Mr. James.
I have not been to Disneyland, no.
You have never been to Disneyland?
I have not, no.
Well, you know what? It was a long, long time ago that I was there. But you know what? The little kids like it. And using that to kind of slide into my next tip is to make sure that you take a lot of things for the youngins to do. Because guess what? They didn't have this to look at and make their neck sore from staring at it the whole time, And it's kind of a shame if you think about it, because they don't even going by. All they see is what's going on in here with Mr. Whoever knows is hot right now. That rap music, you know what I'm talking about? They don't listen to the good old stuff, but that's okay. But you will have to come up with a lot of ways to keep those youngins happy, because guess what? If they're not happy, they're going to be bothering you. And you don't want them bothering you, do you? So, you know what you do is you can buy them like a lot of like color books. But the problem with that is, then you got to have crayons. And oh my gosh, when the black one goes missing, it's terrible. It's pandemonium. And most of the time, those little black crayons, they get worn down so hard because that's a popular color. You know what I'm saying, Mr. James? So you got to be very careful and keep away from the sticky gum, because that could be very much stuck to your upholstery.
That's a really good point.
The bigger the bubble, the bigger the mess. You know what I'm talking about?
What about snacks? What do you bring on a road trip to eat?
Well, they don't have those little ready-go things back then, If you took a bag of chips, well, holy smokes, that could be a disaster. Can you imagine opening the bag and all the stuff goes flying out? Like popcorn and chips, all greasy, of course.
Of course, yes. So maybe like a sandwich in a Ziploc?
That's exactly right. You were very smart, Mr. James. That's exactly what you took. And you took it in a little picnic basket, that your mother made special for you. And of course, what kid wants to sit by the side of the road and eat their sandwich? They want to run around and be crazy silly. So you have to keep a good track of them, Mr. James. And, back then, things were a little more lax, but it was still hard to keep track of your youngsters. Nowadays, you just call them up and say, Susie, you need to get home. If she'll come home, that is. But, that's how you have to keep Susie and Bobby happy in the back of your car.
Right. Do you have any road trips planned this summer?
Actually, I did. I went out to L.A., and I got to see and talk with Mrs. Desiree and Mr. Dave, the nicest young couple you would ever want to meet. They were so nice to us when we were out there because, Miss Rebecca went there with her book, Hound Dog and Hard Dog's Night, 2 books. But you know what? She's got a new one coming out this summer, Mr. James.
Oh, really? What's that one
Third
called?
in the series, Doggy Be Good.
Okay.
So it's going to continue on the story of the hound dogs. Those guys are rascals, Then back in my day, those were bad boys. But, today they would probably be considered to be cool. Right,
Yeah.
Mr. James?
Probably.
Are you going on a road trip?
I actually just did one recently to Niagara. And
Nice.
that was really enjoyable. Yeah, I liked that a lot.
A lot of people used to go there and honeymoon there, Mr. James, back in the day.
I just went there and enjoyed it.
You were not in a honeymoon, were you?
I was not. No.
Okay.
No.
Were you by yourself?
No, I was there with my
Okay.
girlfriend, but we weren't honeymooning.
Not yet, anyway.
Not yet. Miss Edna, I appreciate you coming on. We're running out of time here. Is there a final message you want to make sure to leave with our viewers?
I have to agree with the other 2 ladies that have been on this program today, and with you as well, Mr. James. We all need happiness in this world and hope and peace, and just take the time to be, to smell those roses and take time out for yourself, for your family and friends. And take along a good book. Another thing that's really good to keep those children busy in the back seat. I mean, after all, this is what this is all about, is some great books. So
Absolutely.
Make sure you stock up.
Absolutely. Thank you, Miss Edna. I appreciate you joining us.
It was good to see you, James.
Good to see you too. All right. Always a pleasure to get some good tips from Miss Edna. All right, we're going to keep on moving forward. Up next, we've got Dr. Christine Silverstein. Dr. Christine is a clinical hypnotherapist and peak performance coach, as well as an award-winning author of Wrestling Through Adversity, as well as an award-winning author of the book Wrestling Through Adversity. And she is here today to take viewers on an oceanic visualization adventure and discuss self-hypnosis and other tools in her mindful toughness skill set. Hello, Dr. Christine. Welcome, and thank you for joining us. How are you today?
I am fine, thank you. I'm enjoying listening to the other authors. It's really interesting. So thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
I'm all ready for the Beach-Bound Book Bash. And as you noticed, I dressed up a little bit with my beach hat. I had my bathing suit on and my cover up, as well as I brought my boogie board.
Ooh,
just
I love
fun. Did you see it?
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. That's great. I made sure to set up behind this very real sunset here.
Yes. Yes, I love the sunset.
Yeah.
So I'm all ready to invite people to be open to what I have to say about learning new skill sets. And I want to start with going to the beach myself in my conversation, because I love going to the beach and also swimming in the ocean and building sand castles. And this is because when I was a child, I grew up near the ocean in a small beach community on the Rockaway Peninsula in New York City and Queens. And there I learned so many things. And one of the things we used to say is, life's the beach. And when I was a child, it was about going to the beach and playing in the sand and swimming and having hot dogs at Nathan's and things like that. But I realized as I got older that what I learned from the beach and what I learned from the ocean was so important to my life. It taught me actually about life and death. It taught me about the ebb and flow of the tide and also about the power of the ocean. So I want to give two examples of how this affected my life in a positive way from my experiences at the ocean. One of them, when I was a young mother raising 4 children, I had a dream in the middle of the night that really woke me up. And I learned that I had a mission in life that I didn't realize. And that was, I was supposed to fulfill this mission. And I remember sitting up in the bed and my husband was next to me. And I said, wake up. And he said, what's the matter? What's the matter? And I said, the ocean is calling me. And I have to find out what my life's mission is. So with that, he said, I'm very sleepy. Can't you tell me what the ocean is saying tomorrow morning? Because I have to go to work. And so that was one experience. But then many years later, I was walking in the Outer Banks with my husband hand in hand during a storm in ankle-deep water. And all of a sudden, this huge wave came to shore and threw me into a riptide out to sea. And I was petrified, thinking that I was going to drown. And at that moment, I felt the presence of an angel over my right shoulder behind me. So I said to her, listen, I can't die, I can't drown, because I promised my dad on his deathbed that I would write a book, that I would become an author in his stead, because he never had the opportunity. He told me, you're such a good writer, Christine, you have to promise me. So I did. And just at that moment, though, when I spoke to the angel, something very powerful happened. And that is, there was a professor on the beach on a lounge chair who was reading a book, The Count of Monte Cristo. And he heard my screams. And he came into the water and extended his hand out to me and saved my life. So as I came out of the water, I looked like a human sandcastle with sand on me. And I realized that it was my father speaking to me in spirit, saying, now, Christine, you promised me about that book. You need to write about your peak performance coaching, because he was an athletic coach. So I began to write my book in 2022. And in the first chapter, I talk about my adverse childhood experiences called ACEs. One of them was about how I went to the dentist when I was young by myself, and I was scared of the dentist. But by the time I became 17, I had to have extensive dental work done. And it was very traumatic because I had many teeth extracted. So that petrified me for years, going to the dentist, until one time when I was an adult and I was sitting in the dental chair, and the dentist told me, I can't give you any more anesthesia because you're very petite. So I told the dentist, okay, I'll just go into the zone and use self-hypnosis and I'll be fine. So I got to the point where I was imagining, while sitting in the dental chair, that I was graduating from Columbia University. I was on the stage receiving my doctoral degree. And when I finished the dental work, the dentist said, so how are you? I said, oh, doctor, I graduated from Columbia University. And he was quite surprised. He said, no, I'm talking about your teeth. So at any rate, 4 years later, I did graduate from Columbia University with my doctorate, graduating with honors. And what I used to get me there through all the challenges in school was the mindful toughness skill sets I had developed for my clients as a peak performance coach. And these skill sets can be taught to anybody, from the nursery school to the nursing home. And we as adults can learn them to help ourselves through traumas, so we can help our children to grow. We can become independent practitioners during these times of low resources for mental health, and also of the challenges our young people are going through these days. So I'd like to explain to the people listening what the mindful toughness skill sets are. The first thing I already mentioned, self-hypnosis, when I went into the zone and saw myself graduate. But also there's breathing easy, and that is disciplined breathing, where you can relax and be at ease. And then progressive muscle relaxation. I work with a lot of athletes, so this is great for sports to prevent injury and also to relax in body, mind, and spirit. And then the next thing is mental rehearsal, where you see yourself in a situation where you accomplish your goal. Mental recall is another great skill set that athletes use. And that is to remember something from the past where you did succeed and bring it to the present moment through a power word. And I've seen magnificent results from that. And then, of course, how to talk to yourself, positive self-talk, where you can actually change the words you say to yourself from negative to positive. And this is going to make a big difference in the results of what you do. So those are basically the mindful toughness skill sets. And you might ask, so what are the benefits of using these skills? Well, first of all, I think this is the biggest benefit because they're very cost effective. Because once you learn them and incorporate them into your life, they're free as the air you breathe, right? And they're also very portable. So I work with many kids, 9 years old. I see them in high school. I see them for college. And by the time they graduate, they're executives in the boardroom. They're using the same mindful toughness skill sets there as well. So it's very useful to learn these very early in your life. So what I'd like to do, as promised, is to bring everybody on an oceanic journey, adventure, using the power of the mind and mindful toughness skill sets. The first, I would like to say,
real quick, I would love that, but real quick, I do just want to say that we are running up on time. So is it okay if this is how we close things out?
Well, so this is the 10 minutes because I thought I had more time. Well, we can close it out, but I'll just say then, these mindful toughness skill sets, you can use them. Take the deep breathing, change the way you present yourself to the world, how you see yourself, and you can achieve your goal. And no matter what challenges you have, you can learn to wrestle through adversity using these mindset techniques, and also bring yourself to a very positive world where you work with community to help yourselves become resilient. So I'm sorry I didn't get to do the mindful toughness visualization, but I know that you can use these skill sets to help yourself to heal. Thank you.
I appreciate that. And you know what? It gives someone another reason to go and get the book and see for themselves, right? So
that's right. It's in chapter 5 and all throughout the book. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Christine. I appreciate you coming on today. All right. And we are going to keep on moving. Up next, we've got Sammy Oopsie. Sammy Oopsie is the author of Sammy Oopsie Goes to the Library. Hey, Sammy. He's here to read from his book that gives educational math lessons for kids' future school academics. How's it going today, Sammy?
Yeah, it is going pretty good. I can't complain. I'm loving it now. It's hot here, I have to say. I'm in Houston. The heat is already on. So it's definitely summertime.
I'm sure. Yeah. I'm sure it's hot down there already. I remember I lived in Texas for a while, and
yes,
it's very warm.
It's steaming. Oh my goodness. Yeah, thanks for having me here. I have to say this is amazing. This is pretty awesome. And I'm loving it. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that you came with a similar kind of idea as me.
I'm enjoying it. It's awesome. And and I even have a lovely hat to place on too.
Perfect.
To protect myself from the heat. Oh my goodness.
I love it. You had a reading for us today, is that right?
Yes, absolutely. And if you guys would like, I will be reading a passage and also be explaining about my book, Sammy Oopsie Goes to the Library.
Perfect.
So here, and just a little bit about my book. Here we have the characters. We have Sheldon here, and of course we have Sammy. Now these characters, of course, we have Sheldon that is based off of me. and we have Sammy, his lovable companion. And at the most awkward of times, his companion, Sammy, well, he toots, he farts, he lets him rip, he cuts the cheese. And I thought it was just an amazing way to help kids to laugh and at the same time learn along the way as well. I know for me, when laughing and having fun and just putting light spirits on my mind, it helps me learn a lot and I'm able to retain the information more. So if you guys like, I would like to go about at least reading a couple of pages out of the book.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ready?
Go for it.
All right, let's see here. We have Sammy Oopsie Goes to the Library. Go ahead, open it up here. We have the introductions. And of course, we have, make sure you guys can get a good view here. All right. Good morning, Sammy. How are you feeling today? Said Sheldon. I feel great, Sammy responded. I am going to the library to study for a math test. Do you want to come, Sammy? Said Sheldon. Yes. We made it to the library. Look at that wonderful, big, beautiful library. Telling you, a lot more of us need to head to the library to read and I say enlighten our minds.
Mm-hmm.
Sheldon softly explains, "Shh, a library is a quiet place, so we must be quiet, Sammy. Shh." Ah, we can sit here, a perfect spot to study, said Sheldon. Shh, said Sheldon. Pooh, pooh, pooh. Oh, whoa, what is that smell? Oh, who cut the cheese? Oh, come on, who did that? Sammy. Oopsie. Pop quiz. Now we see Sheldon class notes. We see sine, cotangent, cosine, cosecant, secant. Remember this information, guys. This is important information. Now, let us fill in the blanks. Y'all ready? Make sure we study, study, study. You have to study. And I know with math, you have to recite, experience it, and repeat. Repeat, repeat, repeat. Math is repetition. When we keep you keep repeating your math and you keep following through the steps, you'll be able to remember it. So math shouldn't be that difficult. And we have spots here to fill in the blanks. You can go ahead. Now let's fill in our answers. Now remember opposite, hypotenuse and adjacent. You can go ahead and fill it in. You have y of y, r, x over r, y over x. Then we come to cosecant. You have r over y. Then we have secant. You have hypotenuse over adjacent. You have r over x. Then you have cotangent. Then you have adjacent over opposite. And that's x over y. You did it. Hooray. You now know trigonometry. Now, why did I put that in the book? You're like, a lot of people sometimes ask me, like, kids don't know that information. Why would you put this in a book? This is a lot of information. Like, there's no way they can remember this. Well, let me tell you something. I didn't learn this information until I got to my college years, where I had to take and remember this information. And I thought it was just the most difficult. This was difficult information ever. And I kept asking myself, like, why am I learning this? What's the point of this? Well, just to let you know, if you decide to continue your academia in school, and you will come across this information, and this is something that you will have to learn in order to achieve your degree or whatever that is that you're achieving. So this is very important information. And I recommend everybody to at least study, or at least I can give a, what's the good word? Oh, I might have lost the words here. at least I can give you a good visual of what it is. Like, this is what's to come. As you're in your school and you're learning, you may not know what it is. You're like, well, what's the point? I don't know. I'm just going to go ahead and I'm just going to say, you know what? I'm just going to remember it. But the book is very funny. But little do you know, when you go ahead and you graduate from high school and you go to college, and some of these kids now are learning this information in high school. And if the smart ones are learning it in middle school, well, I wasn't that smart, okay? But you will come across this information, and once you realize and see it, you're like, whoa, wait a minute. I remember reading this when I was a little kid, and it should come a lot easier to you, and you won't have to struggle in school unlike I did. And that's why I had put this in a book, because I thought it was something that was very important, because I didn't want kids struggling in school like I was.
Yeah.
And so it will save you a lot of time, and it will make you feel much better. And you could easily go through school with no problems. And that's why I've written Sammy Oopsie.
I love that. So it's less about actually teaching them trigonometry and more just about making it less shocking when they do start learning.
Correct. It's to give them some pre-exposure to what's for to come in their years of school while they're focusing in school. And you know it. And I know my mom asked me. She said, "Well, that's some like advanced knowledge. You know, kids may not know what it is." I said, "It's okay. The point is, they may not, fully understand what the information is. The point is, I have given them awareness. Like, hey, this is what's to come. You're going to continue in school, and you're going to try your best, and you don't want to struggle. Well, how about I can give you guys some pre-exposure, and so that way things can come easier to you. You don't have to, like I said, you don't have to study like I did in school." Yeah. And that's I would say it's a good thing.
Yeah. No, I've never heard of that before. Pre-exposure, is that like a child development kind of like what's it called, topic of conversation typically?
Yes, I say like say when kids may be reading it. Of course, even adults as well may be reading it to their kid. They may come across it and say, "Oh wow, I've never seen this before. Like, what is this?" Well, that will be a chance for the parent and the child as well to go ahead and actually look up that information and do some research on what it is. And while they're getting some research with their parents and with them, you both together are doing, it's not just communicating, and you're also bonding with one another. And at the same time, you're learning something that will help you with your future.
I love that. Thanks so much. So we're running out of time, but is there a final message that you want to make sure to leave with all of our viewers today?
I say a good message, especially what's going on nowadays in our current situation and current state that we're in. The best I can say is don't give up on what you're achieving. Stay focused, stay strong, stay positive, and just keep on going. Don't ever fall. Don't ever fail. Don't ever look back.
I love that. Thanks so much, Sammy. I appreciate you coming on and sharing that message today.
Oh, sure. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, have a good one. I'm jealous of that tapestry. I wish that mine was as good as that one. All right, we've got some more amazing authors to get to today. I do want to make sure to take one more chance to let everyone know, though, you can still sign up for the giveaway at the Books That Make You website. We will announce winners at the end of this event, and we'll do that when we send out the virtual beach book bag, including a lot of digital goodies and offerings from several of our featured authors today, as well as an invitation to get advanced reading copies through NetGalley, thanks to Black Chateau. Make sure that you are signing up for the newsletter or signing up for the giveaway to be included in that. All right, and without further ado, we are going to keep rolling on over to Sandy Malone. Sandy is the award-winning author and recovering wedding planner, which I love. She also is the star of TLC's Wedding Island, and she's here to discuss fictionalizing true stories about her crazy clients to protect the guilty brides while still amusing her readers. Hello, Sandy. How are you today?
Hi there, James. Thanks for inviting me.
Hi, I'm doing good, and thank you for coming. I just realized I don't think that you actually asked how I am. I don't know why I just said I'm doing good, but
I'm good to know. I'm glad to know that you're doing well. Can we just start over? Okay. No, I just got off the beach and I just spent a week on a cruise before that. So I'm suffering a little sun-cooked brain.
I hear you. Yeah, where you just kind of want to take like a week of naps.
We took our grandchildren on a cruise. Mm-hmm. And I need a vacation for my vacation. They were fantastic. We had a great time. Keeping up, that's a challenge.
I hear you.
So, I mean, writing and editing is easier.
Yeah, I hear you. So tell me about taking some of these stories and fictionalizing them. How much do you have to fictionalize them in order to feel like you're still protecting the kind of...
Let me explain. My husband and I are from DC originally. We're both native Washingtonians. Mm-hmm. And he was a SWAT commander in the DC area. And I was, first I was a journalist, and then I switched to the dark side. I went to lobbying and public relations. Mm-hmm. And while I was doing that stuff, I planned some weddings for our friends. And I ended up planning my own wedding on Vieques Island, Puerto Rico. The government of Puerto Rico was one of my clients. And I fell in love with it when we were kicking the Navy off the island. And eventually I got married down there, but there was no wedding planner, and everything that could go wrong went wrong. So when my husband was ready to retire and my company, it was a good time for me to also get out of what I was doing. We decided to move to our vacation home on Vieques Island, and we'd open up a wedding planning company, and 2 weddings a month would be perfect. And that was and he was going to be retired, but he'd help me. Yeah, the first August, we had 19 weddings.
Oh my gosh.
That poor man never retired. He ran my setup and teardown cruise, right? So we planned more than 500 weddings over 11 years. And we starred in TLC's reality show, Wedding Island, about our company. We did 1 season because it's hard to film when those are real clients. Mm-hmm. And I mean, you're trying to keep real clients happy. Production doesn't like their colors. Too bad they paid me to plan their wedding. So we did that, and everything was going gangbusters with the company. And all of a sudden, in one night, Hurricane Maria wiped us out.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Now, we were really lucky because we were actually up at our condo in the DC area when it happened. We took September off every year once we got successful because my husband was sick of trying to hold my hand through hysterical calls from brides watching the Weather Channel. Because hurricane season's a rough time for Caribbean weddings, right?
Yeah.
Talking people off the ledge takes a lot of energy. So we were up north when Hurricane Maria hit, and we ended up helping with the evacuation efforts. But it was time to make a really big decision because our island didn't get power back for 17 months. So I had to cancel 2 years of weddings with brides, and I cried with all of them. Yeah. And there was no way I was going to try and restart at that point. Thank God I didn't, because the whole world changed in 2020. And I would never want to have to go through and tell brides your wedding's canceled again. I mean, it's horrible. Yeah. So I went back to writing, which is where I'd started. And my husband is, was a retired police captain. And I got a job as the editor of Blue Lives Matter, the Police Tribune. So I spent 7 years editing and becoming a subject matter expert. And when I didn't know something, I had a cow Wikipedia on the couch. But we got an opportunity. We've been looking for our forever home after we lost Vieques Island. We sold our house there. I mean, there's no power for 17 months. We were still on generators when the movers met us there to bring our stuff back. And it was scary. So I sat down and I said, I want to write fiction. I've always wanted to write fiction, but I've never had time because I'm always writing what other people are paying me to write. So I took all these crazy stories and I just started writing. And my books are hilarious. They're not really romances. They're rom-com because it's a story about a girl who is a wedding planner who loses her job in the Caribbean. So she goes home to Jekyll Island, where she grew up. It's where I live now. And she launches a company. She thinks she's going to sit on the couch and cry and eat ice cream and work on her resume. And her aunt's like, get off your butt. There's no wedding planner here. So she starts reconnecting with childhood friends, including one that grew up to be a smoking hot state trooper. And all's going well in her world. And then weird things start happening. Well, as that's happening, her job is as a wedding planner. So the stories I'm telling about the brides and grooms, these are all real stories based on real clients, fictionalized to protect them. Number one, because some of the stuff's horrific and just horrible. Like, we had one bride whose father was killed the night before the rest of them left for the wedding. Okay, and then when they got there, we all had to pretend he hadn't died. It was the strangest experience. We called that weekend at Bernie's. No, seriously. And in my books, like there, we had the sisters who showed up in the same wedding gown and almost beat the crap out of each other with their bouquets. You can't make these things up. Yeah. And so as I started writing, I took all these stories and I fictionalized. One bride was so awful that I had to make her 4 different brides in my books.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because it wasn't a believable story. Nobody would believe that the same bride had pulled these stunts. Yeah. I mean, the groom called me crying on a regular basis because the bride was mean. Okay, this is your first hint that he wasn't straight. Mm-hmm. Because in all my years of wedding planning, I never had a groom calling me to fuss about the bride. And then he designed all of the everything. And okay, whatever. It's not my job it's my job to marry them, not question the marriage. But there were some very strange things going on. She rejected the engagement ring because she found out it was held in the family trust. She refused to sign the prenup until literally 2 hours before the wedding. They had some screaming fights after they even got to the island. It was like nothing you've ever seen. Anyway, this woman sent me flowers after my books came out. She didn't recognize herself. Now, I wonder, how many brides does she think made me drive across the island at midnight to put aloe on their shoulders? Only her.
That was going to be my question, is have you heard from any of them that have recognized what was happening and gotten mad about it?
A couple of them are friends. I mean, I've stayed friends with a lot of my clients. That was a rule. I wouldn't be Facebook or social media friends with them until after their wedding was over, because I don't need to be getting a message being like, why are you on the beach when you haven't sent me something?
Yeah.
So didn't do that. But I sent friend requests, the ones I liked, and I have stayed very close. And some of them are my best friends now. But and those girls, some of them wanted to be in the book. They were mad they weren't in the first book. So their weddings are in future books, because they know that I can put in the embarrassing things their father did that are now funny to them without anybody ever knowing who I was writing about. And that's the way to do it. I don't want to hurt anybody with these books. I don't. I have no goal. And some of it would be pretty mean if people knew who it was. Yeah. But people are always like, is it real? No way you had a dog eat the wedding rings. Well, actually, it was an engagement ring and it was a Rottweiler. In the book, it's a dachshund. But yeah, we have an X-ray to prove it.
Yeah. So how much do you feel like you have to alter the stories in order to kind of appreciate the confidentiality of your clients?
You can't make them come from where they're from. The stories that I wrote in my book about a 29-year-old wedding planner planning weddings on Jekyll Island, Georgia. And so these clients, mine came from all over, I say the world, but the US and Canada primarily. I had a few international ones. And just none of them come from where they come from. None of them look like who they look. I don't say a bride whose real name was Elizabeth. I don't call her Beth. I do everything possible. We're talking about the wedding industry, which is like a $900 billion a year business or something like that now. There are so many weddings. People also don't see themselves. They don't recognize when they're psycho nasty and horrible. They don't. It's a shame. But the worst brides don't recognize themselves, because I was a bridezilla and I know it and I'll own it, but a lot of girls won't.
All right. Well, I appreciate you coming on and sharing that with us as we're kind of rounding up the last minute here. Any message you want to make sure to leave with our viewers on the way out?
Yes. The Gem of the Golden Isles series starts with Escape to Jekyll Island, and it is a fantastic beach read. It all takes place on Jekyll Island, Georgia. All my books are available at sandymalone.com, as well as Amazon, bookshop.org, Barnes & Noble, all the other places. But it's a lot of fun. And it's also fun to watch Wedding Island. It still streams a lot of places after you've read book 1, because you can see what I'm writing about and what kind of island she came from to end up on the special place that is Jekyll. Thanks so much for having me.
I love that. Thank you for coming, Sandy. It was a pleasure having you. Have a good one.
You too.
All right. And we are going to roll right on through to our next speaker, which is Jessica McAnally. Jessica McAnally, hello.
Hello.
Registered dietitian and sanitarian and award-winning author of the Birdie Children's Book Series. Jessica is here to give a presentation on food models and preparing a food-safe picnic, taking inspiration from one of her books. I'm excited to find out more. How's it going, Jessica?
It's going great. Thanks for having me, James. This is my first official Beach-Bound Book Bash, and I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah, well, welcome. We're excited to have you. So you're going to talk to us about Proper Picnic, right?
I am. I'm going to give just a little bit of background. You mentioned I was a registered dietitian and a registered sanitarian, and a lot of people ask me what that sanitarian thing is, and I just say it's a fancy name for being the food police. I was a food inspector for a long time, and a lot of my friends tried to encourage me to write a book about what I saw in kitchens because I saw it all and it was pretty bad. But I decided to kind of steer away from that. And I was having a milestone birthday coming up, and I had made a list of 50 things to do before I turned 50. And one of those was still to write a book, but I wanted my book to kind of reflect my background and public health and nutrition. And so the very first book in the Birdie series is Birdie's Picnic Party. And that's what we were going to talk about today. And in Birdie's Picnic Party, it's kind of teaching children early on the importance of food safety. And each of the lovable characters arrive to the picnic and they teach a food safety tip along the way to children. So at the very end, the kids, there's a checklist. And when I go to schools, we go through the checklist and we pack a picnic basket together, and they become food safety superstars together.
I love that.
So it's kind of fun. So yeah. I did bring my picnic basket today too for your viewers.
Real quick though, before we get into it, I just got to say this is so important and cool. Like, kids really need so much more education on food and nutrition in general. I do feel like this is something that is lacking so much in schools a lot of the time. So love the mission of what you're doing and excited to hear more. Tell me about your food safe picnic.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. When I did the research of writing my book, I'm a fairly new author. My very first book came out in August of 2025. So this is kind of a new journey for me. And so when I did the research, I could not find anything like you mentioned on food safety. I could find a lot of books on nutrition and how to feed your child or picky eating, but I really couldn't find anything on food safety. And I believe that if we teach these skills early on to kids, it only just empowers them, and they will grow with these lessons all the way into adulthood. And these kiddos are going to pack their own lunches maybe one day and have their own families one day. So that's why it was important to me.
Yeah, I love that.
When I do go to schools, I do set out a picnic blanket and we really create a picnic together. And I talk about how important it is because 1 in 6 people will come down with a foodborne illness this year. Have you ever gotten a stomachache from something you've eaten?
Yes.
Yes, unfortunately, it happens. So, and a lot of the times we want to blame the last restaurant we went to. And it's not always that's the situation. A lot of the times it's our own home. And it's because we're not using the proper utensils, or we're not using, I bring cutting boards today. And I use color-coded cutting boards. So I can keep raw meats on one cutting board and fresh vegetables on the other. So I don't cross-contaminate. And then I talk about the importance of hand washing. And if you're on a picnic, let's say we're at the beach and we're on a picnic together, and there's not a bathroom, talk about hand sanitizer. Pack that along with you, because hand washing is our #1 defense against any kind of illness, not just a foodborne illness. And then with the kids, I do bring out my food bottles and have fun with it. Here's a cheese stick. And I tell the kids, would you take this cheese stick on your picnic? What if it was sitting out in the sun? Would you take it? And if they think that you would take it, they flap their birdie wings and we go ahead and pack it in their picnic basket. And then if they think it's something that's bad that needs to be thrown out, we do a big X, and they get all excited about that when I'm out. So I really have been loving it.
Yeah, I love that. That's great. I mean, yeah, the little activities like that go such a long way in kind of solidifying ideas in like young people's minds, I feel like a lot of times. So
I do
awesome.
too. And I love my books. I'm a kid from the 80s. And back then we all had time to sit with our families and have dinner together. And the generation now, I'm a mom and my 2 kids are grown and on their own, but you know, we're busy nowadays and we're all going in different directions. Moms and dads are both working now. And I hope these books are bringing families back to the kitchen table, back to planning family picnics together, and back to having real conversations with each other about nutrition and friendship and food safety and even moving their bodies. So I do have 2 other books, and the second book is about Birdie's cooking class. It's all about preparing fun meals in the kitchen together. And then my third book just came out 2 weeks ago, and it's called Birdie's Fitness Fun. And it's all about how Birdie tries every kind of sport and every kind of movement to get her body moving to find her perfect fit. And that book I wanted to accomplish, we're all so stuck to our screens now and our phones. And I want people to still go outside and be outside and move their bodies. And there's a fit for everybody. So the book kind of builds confidence and teaches you how to move your body.
Yeah, I love that. So you said that you go to schools on occasion. Have you gotten any feedback on these books from some of the kids or parents?
I do. And it's been one of my favorite things. I really didn't know that it was going to take off the way it has. And schools are contacting me all the time. Now libraries are contacting me for coming to their summer book fest, because they're having all their summer reading programs right now that kids are out of school. My biggest feedback was I had a Girl Scout troop call me, and they said that they geared my books all around earning a certain badge for their troop. And I thought that meant a lot. And then I opened a package of letters the other day, and it was all their thank you letters they had created for me and what they had learned from the Birdie book series. So that really touched my heart. And to me, if they just took one little food safety tip away from my book, then I've done my job.
Yeah, no, that's really sweet. I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah.
You said that you just finished up your first one. How long ago or your third one? How long ago was your first one?
My first one was August 2025. And then, the second one was around Christmas. And then the third one I just released 2 weeks ago. And it was really exciting. I got to release it at a school, and it was a middle school that called me, and it was their special ed department. And my book is geared towards 4 to 8 years old as the target audience. And so I kept telling them, I don't know if this is the audience for you. And they're like, no, we really would like you to come. I have to say, hands down, James, it filled my heart. Those kiddos, oh my gosh, they were so excited. And they were the first. I told them they had the honor to be the first ones to hear Birdie's Fitness Fun, the third book. And they truly were. And they soaked it in, and they loved it. And I went ahead and gave them each a copy for them to take home.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, there's truly nothing like when kids are genuinely invested in whatever you're like trying to teach them. That's just like such a special feeling. I've been in both mindfulness and nutrition conversations with elementary age students, and it's just like when they're like really into it and they're like asking questions and like trying to dive deeper, it's just like, oh my God, like I'm just so happy to be here.
You get it. Totally get it. We even turned one of the school presentations, I got buzzers, and we made my main characters behind me, Birdie. And the kids tend to love her the most, and then they like Bear, that you don't see behind me. But we made 2 trivia teams of Birdie versus Bear with buzzers, and oh my gosh, I'd give them a food safety tip, and they get so competitive and had so much fun. And it makes it all realize my mission as an author is accomplishing something.
Yeah. Oh, is that the titular Birdie behind you?
That is Birdie.
Oh, okay. I see.
That's the real Birdie. And actually, a little backstory, Birdie's named after my daughter. That's her nickname. Her name's Ryan, and we've called her Birdie since she was little. So it's kind of like a little homage to my own daughter.
I love that. Well, Jessica, we're wrapping up here on our time together. Do you have a final message you want to make sure to leave with our viewers?
I always like to tell people when I've talked to them that it's never too early to teach healthy habits that are going to last for a lifetime. And some parents I see, they say, well, my kid's 10 already. Is it too late? No, it's never too late. It's never too late. You can start at 20. But I do say, grab your family, go have a picnic together, just be together, bond. And you can find my books at JessicaNicoleMcAnallyBooks.com. And I'm also on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, and all the little book outlets, and enjoy your summer reading together.
All right. Sounds great. Thanks so much for joining us, Jessica. Have a great day.
Thanks for having me.
All right. That was a great talk. We are going to keep rolling here. We've still got a few authors left. So let's see. Up next, I believe we are going to be moving on to William Bernhardt. So we are going to do that now. Hello, William.
Hey, how you doing? Good to see you.
Doing great. Good to see you too.
I like the hat. That's special.
Oh, thank you. I like it too. I like hats that just have one word. That's kind of my favorite thing for some reason.
I tried to go with that beach thing, but it doesn't really work when it's squished together by headphones, but whatever.
I love that. William is the author of The Superman Wars, and he is here to tell artists how to prepare and protect themselves from facing the same fate as the creators of Superman. So I have kept myself fully ignorant on the topic ever since I saw it, because I had a deep desire to go on Wikipedia and figure out what the fate was, but I didn't already know. So tell me a little bit about what happened and how we can avoid it.
Well, the Superman Wars is principally about Jerry Siegel, who is the Cleveland kid. I mean, he was an 11th grader during the Depression who comes up with the idea for what's going to become our first superhero, Superman. Partners with his best friend Joe Shuster, who draws, and they have many years trying to get it published, but eventually it does, of course, debut in 1938. Superman is an overnight sensation, not just in comic books, but in every media and toys and games and jammies. But Jerry finds to his dismay that he has lost control of the character.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
How does he lose control?
Well, because he signed a release. This is all decked out in the book in much more detail, but he initially thought he was doing business with someone else, someone he knew and trusted, but just in practically the minutes before Superman is debuted, before he debuts, the company is taken over by a different group. Harry Donenfeld, mob connections, rum runner during Prohibition, 2 indictments for pornography, and his business associate, Jack Leibowitz, who writes some of the nastiest correspondence you'll ever read in your life. And anyway, they just, they got very wealthy. Jerry did not.
So do you think that Superman would be a different type of character if that hadn't happened? Like, did the character of Superman change throughout that process as well, or was it just the intellectual property fight?
Well, the intellectual property fight, the so-called wars, begins in 1947. Jerry's just come back in the war. He was drafted. He's been serving his country, comes back 2 years later to find, 1, he's deeply in debt, and 2, the comic company has totally taken over the Superman operation, even got his pal Joe Shuster coming in-house. And worse, they've taken a script he had for a new character, sort of new, to be called Superboy, and they've run with it without buying it. They turned it down. They had no right or consent from the author, but they just did it, and that became a successful series. So as you can imagine, Jerry was upset. He files suit in 1947. It doesn't go well, but worst of all, they fire him, because they can do that, apparently, fire him from his own character, and worse, remove Jerry and Joe's names from the feature,
No.
Even when they reprinted old strips from the past, that color over the names. I mean, we could argue legalities all night long, because Jerry did sign something he shouldn't have, but at the end of the day, removing somebody's name from their work, that is just wrong.
No, yeah, that's diabolical. That's... Yeah. Especially to go back on old copies and retroactively do it.
Petty. That didn't hurt them any, but anyway.
So how can authors protect themselves from having to face these kinds of wars?
Right. I'm sure this book is why Desiree thought this was something I might be able to talk about. Plus, she hears me talk about it at our writers' conference every year. So there are a lot of things you can do. Here's 2 that'll seem so simple you wish you hadn't come, but it may not be as simple as you think. That's 1, make sure you copyright your work. I'm a writer, and I think in terms of writing, but a lot of people can get a copyright. You can copyright a photograph or a painting or whatever. And if you're in the book world, get a Library of Congress number. Some of you are thinking, well, if I'm traditionally published, they'll take care of that, except as it turns out, not necessarily. as part of the recent Anthropic lawsuit settlement. I won't go into all the details, but suffice to say, if you don't have a Library of Congress number, or if the copyright isn't in the name of the author on the cover, you're going to have problems recovering. I mean, it turns out to be way more important than you think. I would tell people that vanity presses are still very much with us, and some of them are part of major corporations and major publishing houses. It's heartbreaking to have someone come to like one of my retreats, writing retreats, and they've just paid 14,000 and something bucks to get their children's book published, and they haven't sold 5 copies, and they're probably not going to. Look, anybody asks you for money up front, that's a vanity press. Run. I don't care how badly you want to see your name on the spine of a book. Run. That is a bad idea. Don't do it. Even if they call it a marketing fee or whatever they call it, don't do that. Now, there are some smaller presses that have started saying right up front, okay, we're going to recoup X amount of expenses before we start paying royalties. As long as it's reasonable, I think that's fair, because that's just like, we're in this together, and we're going to split the profits 50-50, which, is a new idea in the world of publishing. Don't sign anything, unless you're sure you know what it means. And if you don't, get an agent, get a lawyer. Don't believe everything that pops up in your email. Since this Superman Wars book came out, probably 10 a day. Every morning I get all these people trying to get either my money or my contact information with what are really persuasively written letters, because they're all by AI that's probably scraped my book by now or scraped an interview about it. They know enough to make it convincing. Look, if it's too good to be true, then it is. And don't fall for that. Don't do it, Right. And what else? Make friends. At that conference I mentioned that I host every year, that one of the things I always try to emphasize is that, I know you're here because you want to be a writer, or you already are, and you think you can improve some aspect of it. And sure, go to the sessions on the art and craft of writing, learn about marketing and distribution and all that kind of stuff. But while you're here, most importantly, make friends. Even though sometimes, the writers tend to be introverts, but make friends, because you never know how invaluable that might be when you're trying to decide, is this for real or is this a scam? If you've got someone you can call on, or somebody who might know somebody, being connected is probably more important today than it's ever been, whether you're writing or painting or putting original content up on the internet. Everybody's got to protect themselves.
Yeah. No, and I love all of that. The last point I want to especially stamp as insanely important. Like when I was full-time writing, I just remember there was a point where I was like, this is a pretty lonely career. A lot of your friends wind up being people that you work remotely with, and you don't necessarily see, or, even really have voice or video conversations with them all that much. And I like any chance that you have to make friends in the writing world, just do it. You gotta really put that effort out.
Yeah, but you're shy. We all are. Get over it. Go talk to that person.
Yeah, but I did want to ask, what do you say to the younger writer who might be thinking of, how they need to do this and thinking it just kind of feels overwhelming or maybe impossible for them? What kind of resources would you say, go to this to kind of get started on making sure that you can do it?
Well, I can answer any doubts right now. You can do it. This is not in doubt. You can do it. The question is, how much time do you want to put in? You've all heard the 10,000 hours rule. You put in 10,000 hours to anything, and by the end of that, you'll be a world-class, whatever that is. I know that's true of writing. I suspect it's true of a lot of these fields, being creative or sports, music, whatever. Sure, talent is great to have, but I don't think it's all that common. But having the perseverance to stick with it, even when other people wouldn't, that's what's really matters. And meet people, make connections, and then when you're mad at the whole world, you got somebody to talk to, right?
Yeah, I love that. So as we're wrapping up, what's one final message that you want to leave with our audience? What's one resonating theme that you want to make sure gets through?
Well, I am concerned that I've made this book sound too depressing. It's really not, nor is it all about litigation. And it does lead to, I don't want to give anything away, but it leads to a happier ending. And if you're thinking, oh, I remember in 75, they got pensions. Oh, that is so not the end of the story. There's 50 more years of conflict after that. But why did all of this turn out okay in the end? One, fans who stood up for Jerry when the rest of the world was ignoring him. Two, his family, even if he passed, his wife, and after she passed, their daughter fought the fight. But that's because three, they stood up. Jerry was the first American author to sue his publisher, and they've kept in that tradition. And that's why you see a Superman comic today. Not only is there a creator credit for Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster, but beneath that it says, by special arrangement with the Jerry Siegel family.
All right. I love that. All right. That points to the happier ending already. So I'm excited to dig into that. Thank you for joining us today, William.
Thank you. It's been fun.
Thank you. Have a good one. All right. That was awesome. I am so excited to dig into that. I love nonfiction. I don't know about y'all, but I love just reading a huge story that tells me every detail about one event. So I'm excited. Thanks for joining us, William. Up next, we're going to be talking with Juliet Dillon Clark. Juliet. Hey, Juliet.
James?
Juliet Dillon Clark is the author of Dark Granny and is here to share why the most dangerous puzzles aren't locked rooms or cold cases. They're the people sitting across from you at the dinner table. I'm excited to dig in and find out what that means.
So you said you're just a big fan of nonfiction, and most of, I think, nonfiction is a lot of what writers see around them, the characters, the nuances, the way people, the way they move, they talk. And so if you think about it, in mysteries, the dinner table looks safe. There's white linens, good china, you're sharing bread. Most of the time it's with your family, but it's a facade. If you're in a nice place like that. I mean, I know a lot of people sit down for dinner and they aren't so formal, but if you think about it, at the dinner table, everyone is trapped in a small radius. There aren't easy exits. They can't go anywhere as part of it. So that proximity really gives you the opportunity to create your own crime scene at the dinner table. You can tamper with a drink, you can pass a note, you can, run into shoulder somebody, kick somebody under the table. And so when you're mystery writing, you want to watch every action that goes on there to see what's going on and who is really keeping the secrets.
Okay. I like that. So, so tell me a little bit about the inspiration behind Dark Granny. And I'm guessing that this is like a family thriller type of conversation.
Yeah, it's a family, kind of small town. I write family in small town. So yeah, it is. I actually had a grandmother who was crazy, and but she didn't know she was crazy. And that the rest of the family did. And a lot of her craziness stemmed from an accident she had as a child. And she was in a coma for about 12 days. And she woke up. They thought she was going to be crazy, but something happened to her short-term memory. So every holiday, every event, she would tell that story, 5 or 6 times. We all knew it. And then at the end of it, she would say, and I woke up and I wasn't crazy. And after you hear it 3 or 4 times, you're like, oh man, you're crazy.
Yeah. Oh man. Okay. So this reminds me of my absolute favorite story to tell. So I had a class where we were assigned hospice patients to go and just spend time with. It was a phenomenal class, but I was sitting in a lobby at one point and this woman introduced herself to me as Betty Wildcat. And then told me that she had a brain aneurysm and the doctors said that she wasn't going to be able to make it, but she's still sharp as a tack. She's just proven to them and then she's getting out of here. And I was like, that's really awesome. I'm hoping that works out for you, Betty Wildcat. And she goes, yeah. Hey, I'm Betty Wildcat, and just started the whole thing. It was, and it was like it was equal parts tragic and hilarious. But I think about Betty Wildcat a lot.
Yeah, well, this was sort of like that. My grandmother was a hoarder. Mm-hmm. And she had not a lot. She had several husbands along the way, and nobody could really identify where those husbands went. Mm-hmm. So that was one of those other deep, dark secrets. Her last husband was very wealthy. And of course, nobody could explain where he went and why he really passed away. And so she lived out on an almond ranch, and there were all these creepy stories that would come up because she would keep the pool toys under in a cellar. And so we'd have to go in there, and it was dark and it was creepy. So you can imagine as a child, there were all these stories in my head. And that's really what I put into Dark Granny, was the inspiration was, where did those husbands go? Why can't my mother find her father? I mean, we literally cannot find any trace of him on the internet.
Yeah.
So, it's just things like that sort of concocted as a child, that I had my own stories that I told about it.
Yeah. Did you run into any conflict with your family members about the stories that you've written?
Yes, actually.
Yeah.
I ran into a really funny one. My parents drank a lot. And I described a bar in San Miguel, California called the Elkhorn to a T in the book. And my mother read it, and she's like, have you been hanging out there? And I was like, no, Mother, I spent my childhood there. And first there was denial. And then there was this, well, everybody's going to know it's me. You can't publish this book. I'm like, Mom, it's been out for 6 months now. Like, if anybody thinks it's you, they already know.
Yeah. So smooth that right out, because it's already done.
Smooth that right out. Yeah. The interesting part was in the book, we clean out Grandma's house. Mm-hmm. And literally, when we cleaned my grandmother's house out, she was a hoarder. We had the biggest garage sale that town had ever seen.
Yeah.
It was just backyard, front yard. It was awful.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm sure. So how much would you say you incorporate real life? Like, how much do you have to exaggerate kind of in your writing with your stories?
It depends on the story. Dark Granny, I think it was more imagination and getting those childhood stories out. There actually was quite a bit of true story in there, running down a will, because supposedly there was a will that was buried, and that's how she became wealthy, that somebody else was supposed to be the heir. My second book.
Found a buried will?
No, we found the grandfather who disappeared, the last one, supposedly was leaving everything to my mother because he wanted a divorce. He died in between. And so my mother wasn't left everything. It went to my grandmother.
Oh.
So that was, we spent some time running down the will, because my grandmother bought my parents' house with supposedly money from a trust, and then she turned around and sued them for half of it. So it was, I have a very dysfunctional family.
Okay. Sorry. I got you off topic, but I need to follow along this and kind of ask, like, do you think that the best fictional writing is kind of deeply tied to these personal events, or do you feel like you are able to write something that is devoid of any memory that you've actually had?
I think it's a lot experiential. I mean, if you look around at other writers, they've got cyber security, background, things like that. I think there's a lot that you take from your own personal experience and put in those books. So yeah, I would say that. And just the dynamic of, I think a lot of writers are people watchers too. That's where we get the mannerisms, the way if somebody has a lisp, we get all that from watching people.
Yeah.
So that makes it really fun too.
Yeah. You can kind of take interesting characteristics you see in someone else and apply it to a character and kind of like figure out where they go with it. Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So did you find any of these scenes that you were writing to be difficult, or was it more kind of therapeutic for you to be able to do it? Or
it was super therapeutic to do it. Yeah, this is actually my second book. In my very first book, I was going through a really ugly divorce, and I got rid of my husband in it, my ex-husband. So that was, I think everything I've done is very therapeutic.
Yeah, I hear you there. Yeah, no, I always feel like I always write a lot more whenever things are bad. There's just like something about it. Okay. So last question, because we're kind of wrapping up, but what is a lasting message that you want to make sure to leave with all of our viewers today? Something that you want to make sure they go home with?
When you think about mysteries, think about people as puzzles. They don't fit together well. They're unpredictable. It's not like putting together, a puzzle at the table, a cardboard puzzle. There are always elements that you don't see that make it difficult to put the puzzle together.
I love that. Thank you so much. I appreciate you coming on, Juliet, and look forward to checking out Dark Granny.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. That was a wild conversation. Really appreciated that, Juliet. That was a lot of fun. We are rocking and rolling with the Beachbound Book Bash. Just want to make sure to remind everyone that you can sign up to receive your free virtual Beach Book Bag by subscribing to the Books That Make You's Webby award-winning newsletter, or by entering the Beachbound Book Bash giveaway, which you still have time to do. And we are going to move on next to Peter Gribble. Peter is the author of the award-winning The City of the Magicians fantasy trilogy. And he is going to read us the first page of the book Threat to whet our appetite for summer escape. How's it going, Peter?
Pretty good. How are you?
Doing good. Yeah, I appreciate you joining us and sharing a little bit of a reading with us. So feel free to get started. Yeah, feel free to get started whenever. By the way, I love the lay and the lights in the background. That's very, very on theme.
Great. So hand-picked.
Hand-picked. Oh, that's even better. Oh, okay. Yeah, I just believed you.
Okay.
Yeah, so feel free to get started whenever you're ready.
Okay. This is page 1 from Threat, book 1 of the series.
Perfect.
And the cover has direct bearing on the opening page. So, a pale blue 5, the obsolete form, was painted on a crier pillar. Looks like a bony hand, don't it? The man remarked. Do you know its meaning lettered, sir? It's the number 5, glyphed the old way, said Sass. Not used in generations. A young girl volunteered. Seen it in other places, too. Other places? The upper ridge so far, on house walls. No paper. Barbarians seized someone. Indeed. The girl asked, Lettered, sir, what does it signify? Afraid I don't know, but thank you for showing me. Unusual, isn't it? I'll let others know. Sorry, you'll have to excuse me. I'm going to be late for the temple service. You're late now, smirked the girl. Sass grinned. You're right. Be well. With a nod, he resumed his walk. He was slowed by a second 5, splashed on the east wall of Nethwa House, then further on by another, more rushed than the last. In the distance, another blue 5, large and illegible, lured him towards the temple. He shivered.
All right. I love that's a good. You packed a lot into that first page. I feel like a lot of the universe kind of unravels right away, which I think is really interesting. How long did it take for you to kind of compact that? Was that originally a much longer section?
I had trouble starting chapter 1, but I knew either this or the other thing that develops into chapter 1. Sass discovers that he's been chosen to educate the barbarian. This is a pacifist. The city of the magicians is a pacifist, nonviolent city, and yet it's facing a barbarian invasion coming in 6 months. And they've got a plan. It should work. And Sass, who has been chosen to educate the barbarian, realizes they've made a mistake. No, not me. But the other thing that is happening is that they're aware of an underground movement plotting to collaborate with the same barbarian. And what do they do? So that's book 1. They're getting ready for this invasion and the encounters, and the tension ratchets up. And book 2 is the book that describes what happens when the barbarian arrives. And book 3, Quickening, is what happens. All the plans that people have, everyone gets a little bit of what they want, but a lot of plans go sideways. So, the reason I started this book, there was something that bothered me about war, the whole concepts of war. I was fortunate to live in France briefly when I was a little boy between the ages of 8 and 12, and went to an international French school for NATO kids and international diplomatic corps kids. But the first day of school, we were told there was a war, Germany lost, you do not talk about it. And that was just sort of schoolyard courtesy. So the nice thing about Europe is you can get in the car and drive through 5 countries in a day if you have a mind to.
Yeah.
But the second summer, my parents had clearly lost people in the war. And so we went off to the Normandy Memorial War sites that are there. And we walked through bomb craters and all that sort of stuff, climbed down the cliff to see where the D-Day landings had happened. And then unexpectedly, there was tens of thousands of little white crosses. As far as the eye could see, I was flabbergasted. And it was, my mom was trying to exercise my math skills, standing in front of each of these little white crosses saying, and how old was this one when he died? The numbers usually ending in 44, 45, that sort of stuff. And they were usually 17, 18, 19, early 20s. And then there was a number across where, Mummy, the numbers are wrong. This guy had been born in 1898 and died in 1918. And he had been buried beside his brother. And my mom said, well, that's because the first one died in the First World War. I was flabbergasted all over. There were 2 world wars in the same place. It turned out that these were the 2 sons of Teddy Roosevelt. One had died in the First World War, and the second had died, sadly, of a heart attack after the D-Day landings. And so they decided to bury them together. But it was something stuck in me for many years, that there was something inherently wrong with war. And so eventually, decades later, the whole notion of what would a pacifist, nonviolent city-state do to prepare for the coming of a barbarian invasion. And so the basic premise is, how do you keep your principles and your integrity intact, facing really rather quite daunting odds?
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. I feel like that's a really challenging kind of task to take on too. Because I feel like that's kind of the first thing that people, ask of pacifists is like, well, what do you do if there's a war? And you have kind of taken on that question and turned it into a trilogy of an explanation, and that's really impressive. That's really awesome.
Thank you. Well, the other thing about it, though, is that it took me in directions I did not expect. That the pacifist, nonviolent, non-cooperative approach does hold up if there's a sufficient mass of the population willing to just say, yeah. Some people will cave. Some people will just say, no, this is too important. And how do you separate one from the other? How do you give voice to one and just say, okay, this is how you feel, please stand back. Or contribute in quieter ways.
Yeah. So, so when kind of taking on this task, what is sort of the favorite element that you learned while writing about this city state that you're creating? I mean, I feel like it's essentially like a utopian type of world, but
I guess it's utopian. They're comfortable. They've been peaceful for roughly about 300 years, and they have a healing spring. It's sort of like Lourdes, so they get a lot of pilgrim trade. It boosts their confidence that we are magicians in a quiet little way. They also have a concept about what human nature is about. That we are inherently magicians if we wake to the magic of existence. But they've gotten lazy, they've got complacent, and they're quietly fleecing the pilgrims. The holy water is free, but you got to pay for the little vials to scoop it up in. You got to pay for your rent and all this sort of stuff. So they're quietly successful, but a barbarian is not really interested in holy water. So that they have to resurrect some of their magical concepts. One of them is the magic they talk about is the magic that you and I and everyone in the world experiences. If you follow the certain incidences in your day when you decide to cross the street, instead of going your normal way, cross the street, turn left, and suddenly, oh my goodness, there's someone you haven't seen for years. And yet if you realize, what just happened here? Follow those little breadcrumbs back and realize, I had an instinct, an intuition, whatever, a prompting that said, cross the street, turn left. And our lives are actually, there are far more of these events in our lives than we acknowledge. And so this is what the city magicians, they know this inherently. So they're beginning to boost it. So what they're trying to do is snag the barbarian. So book 2, without giving too much away, the two factions emerge. One is he knows one of them is going after my heart, right? The other one is going after my ambitions. Fine. Clear the decks. This is what I want. But he has to contend with the political realities that are there.
Well, that sounds amazing. I thank you for that rundown. We are just about out of time here, so I think that's a really good note to end on. I appreciate you coming, Peter, and really look forward to checking out this trilogy. So thanks for telling us about it.
Thanks, James. Happy reading.
All right. That sounds awesome. I'm going to have to check that out. I love a good trilogy. All right. We are on to our next author. It's going to be Candace McPhee. Candace, hello. Candace is the award-winning author of the Back in a Year series, who's going to share some travel tips from her hilarious and messy backpacking adventure books from the 90s. How's it going, Candace?
It's going really good. Thank you. How about yourself?
Doing well. Tell me about some of these tips and also what made your backpacking adventures messy?
Oh boy. I don't think we have enough time in 10 minutes to tell you about all the messy things that I got into. I think the time period, if I'm going to answer that as crisply as possible, is just the time period. There was no internet. There was no, you had a travel book and that was it. And you didn't know what things looked like before you got there. And a lot of the languages, you didn't have a translation app. You just kind of had to style it out and hope for the best. So it made for a lot of messy adventures. But my goal of these books is just that, you know what, you can just kick back and you can laugh and you can cringe and you can cry and you can just experience the whole trip and just have a good time doing it. So
I love that.
Yeah.
All right. So tell me some of these travel tips that you have.
All right. Okay. This is my first one. Is bring clothes you love. It sounds so silly, doesn't it? But you only have such a limited amount of space. So, there's a lot of videos now about folks like modular wardrobe or whatever. For me, I just wanted to not feel like a nerd or a loser, because there's a lot of times where you can't wash your clothes for a really long time. So you need to feel pretty good if you don't smell the best. So that's my first thing. Yeah.
I want to add to that one and say also, like, bring the thing that you're kind of afraid to wear if you own it. Like, because I feel like it's easier to be like on vacation person wearing that shirt that you don't really feel comfortable wearing out at home.
I like. Just as an aside to that one, don't also bring something that you'll be devastated if you lose, because you could lose it, it gets stolen or anything like that. So make sure that you love it, you feel good in it, and it's a little bit maybe pushing your comfort zone, like you said, but you could lose it too. So that's kind of a thing, right? This is a very girly list, so I'm just gonna keep going. Buy what you want.
I'll do my best.
Okay. Buy what you want. Like, so many times, you're traveling just with this one small bag and you see this amazing thing and you think, oh, I want to buy that. Buy it and mail it home. It's so easy. Mail it to someone, mail it to a friend, mail it to anyone. They'll put it in the closet until you get back. So that's my don't have shopping FOMO. That's another one.
Totally. And I will say with that too, I feel like a lot of times people really like save for a long time to go on vacations, and then they get in that saving mindset, and then once they go on vacation they get really like kind of nervous, but it's like that's what you saved it for. Like, enjoy,
buy something that you'll enjoy when you get home, and that will remind you of your time traveling.
Support a different economy.
Yes, there you go. Okay, this is when you can't do everything. So be picky, choosy, and there's a lot of cool things to see, but make choices from a financial perspective or time perspective, whatever it is. Give yourself a bit of grace. You're not going to see everything. You're going to see what you're going to see, and just make sure you've done your research, however that looks. So.
Okay, so I want to pause here and ask, just what are some places that you visited that you really loved? Like, if you had to do like a top 3.
Okay. This is fun. Okay. Top 1. Now, remember, I went in the 90s. So this is before Game of Thrones. So I went to Croatia. And I rocked up to Zagreb, and I was with an Australian girl, and we literally walked all around Zagreb trying to find a car rental place. We found a car and we rented it, and we drove down to the coast to Dubrovnik. Wow, Croatia is so beautiful. The color of the water, and you can just pull up to this town. They have these wonderful old peninsulas. You just sort of jump off the edge of the town and go for a swim. Like, it's amazing. Roadside fruit stands, and so, and they don't even care about you, which is really kind of cool, because a lot of the places I travel to, you get harassed a lot. There's a lot of not so nice folks, but in Croatia at the time anyway, they didn't even care. They just would ignore you, which was to me the best thing. Like, please ignore me. That's fantastic. And I'm writing my 4th book now, and it's on Africa. And I have to say, I underestimated Africa in general, because I always thought Australia was going to be my favorite place. But wow, Africa is something else. And specifically in Africa, it's so hard. I would say Namibia. I really loved these sand dunes. They have these gorgeous red sand dunes, and you can just look at them. I climbed them and watched sunrise and did some sandboarding down it, which
that sounds fun.
I did not do a good job, and let me tell you, that sand sticks around everywhere for a really long time, but it was super fun. And I am going to say, as a city, I loved Moscow, and I could get a whole bunch of people telling me they don't, but I've always been fascinated with just how different it felt growing up, and just the stories and the history, and going to Red Square and marching through Red Square myself and seeing, like, it is huge. You don't even realize how big that place is. So yeah, Moscow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, I love that your first option was the one where people don't care that you're there.
Yes.
Because I had a similar experience. I did a trip. The only time I've left the country twice. The last time I went to Niagara, I live in Michigan, so that's like kind of
okay.
down the street. And I fully underestimated how magical Niagara is. First of all, like that was just like an absolutely like spiritual experience seeing that.
Yeah.
But before that, I did a trip to Europe where I did Lisbon, Amsterdam, and Venice. And I thought that either Venice or Amsterdam would be my favorite, but Lisbon by far was my favorite. And I think the thing that like really drove it was they were actively trying to seek more tourists and more like expats moving there. And so it was just like this place that was excited I was there. And and I just like I fell in love with that fact, you know.
Yeah. You know, it's funny because it's tough as a woman. I think it's not comparable when you're traveling as a woman versus traveling as a man. Traveled all through the Middle East, and let me tell you, it was work. You know, 2 hours on the streets of Cairo was all I could handle in a whole day. I would literally have to go back and just rock in the corner for the rest of the day. It was difficult. It was loud. It was noisy, and just the constant groping, shouts, really not very nice things that you're hearing over and over again. And so it is, and I think that was the refreshing part about Croatia, because they just were like, meh, I don't even see you. And I thought, wow, that's really cool. Thank you very much. So I was pretty pleased with that. Yeah.
No, I will say there was one time when I was in Amsterdam, there was a point where like a stranger on the street came to ask me a question, and they were speaking in Dutch. And I was blown away because I thought everyone in Amsterdam was like the most beautiful person I've ever seen. Like across, it was just like such a beautiful city. And when he talked to me in Dutch, I was like, "You think I belong here?" I was just like so excited.
As a complete aside, I worked one time. I was working in Brazil, and I was in Rio, and I was with a friend of mine who I used to work with, her sister, and we were at the beach, and everyone kept coming up to me trying to sell me, you know, like a t-shirt or whatever, but they weren't even talking to my friend's sister. And I'm like, why are they coming up to me and saying, you know, why aren't you getting asked? And she looks at me and she goes, oh, and she said, it's your bathing suit. It covers too much of your bum. And I was like, oh, because there's a lot more exposure in the Brazilian bikini than the regular North American one. So, so I kind of, even just in the suit, I sort of
my understanding is I would probably get the same looks for wearing my swimsuit. So,
well, as a man, they all wear Speedos and nobody sits down. They just kind of turn with the sun like a clock. So it's fascinating. And also because I was sitting on the beach, people don't usually sit; they stand and turn with the sun to get all the tans. So there you go. Yeah.
Well, Candace, we're right at time, but is there a quick message you want to leave? I don't want to leave everyone with the turning your bum to the sun, but message you want to leave everyone with?
I would say for me, there's two things. Trust your gut. So if you're at the point where you're like, oh my God, I think I'm going to be nauseous, I'm going to be sick, this is so bad, leave. But if you're a little bit uncomfortable and you're thinking, oh, that's usually where the magic happens. So good or bad, it's all part of the adventure. So embrace it and don't be scared of something that makes you a little bit nervous. That's usually when you're on the right track. Go and have fun.
All right. I love it. Thanks, Candace. Inspirational words to live by for the summer. Go do something that's a little scary.